Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to commence our panel discussion soon. Please note that we will make it in Korean, so those who don't understand Korean, please use your headset for interpretation. 예, 안녕하십니까.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Kim Yeon, Executive VP
제가 소개를 드리도록 하겠습니다.
of Korea Register. Let me introduce our panelists. We have Jong-Ki team leader from Hanhwa Ocean, and we have Executive Director Yong from HD KSOE, and we have Managing Director Jong-Ki from WinGD Korea. We have experts panelists who are working on design at a shipbuilding company, and also expert from engine maker and expert from engineering section of engineering company. And in the previous sessions, there have been many presentations made. And also, the maritime business industry is going through a dramatic change, and particularly when it comes to the greenhouse gas reduction target will be a pressing task, such as the GHG emission monitoring and improvement, or the reduction measures, and alternative fuel introduction, and securing supply chain or alternative suppliers, or GHG tax increase related operation cost increase, and how the negotiation should be made between the ship owners or the cargo owners rather. These are the tasks ahead of the maritime shipping and business companies, and this dramatic change in the business environment gives a lot of pressure on the shoulders of the companies. In the past, a small item and the small production was the trend of shipbuilding industry, but now it's changing into a kind of multiple types of ships and the small production or shipbuilding, LNG fueled ship, ammonia fueled ship, or the dual fueled ship. All these different types will be built, and the battery powered ship and other different fuel type, or the different engine type of ships will be built. So from the perspective of shipbuilder, the design should be actual design capability should be secured to accommodate all these multiple types of shipbuilding, and it will put pressure on the shoulders of the shipbuilder companies. And when the new shipbuilding technologies are adopted, it requires certain period for stabilization of new technologies, and also certain issues can occur even after the new ships are delivered. So it also puts a lot of pressure on the shoulders of the shipbuilders. It's unprecedented the time that we face in terms of shipbuilding business, and it requires us to have an open mindset or attitude to accommodate all these different and unprecedented changes. And also it requires collaboration among the stakeholders to respond to future changes, and knowledge and insights and experience should be exchanged among the stakeholders in the industry. Of course, we can learn a lot from our failures, and the lessons learned from failures need to be shared as well. So before I ask questions to our panelists, I just updated you on the current status of the shipbuilding industry. I would like to ask the first question to team leader Jong-Ki from Hanwha Ocean. GHG issue and the decarbonization issue are kind of key topics here, and what kind of strategy your company has.
Hello, I'm Jong-Ki Lim, team leader from a commercial vessel development team at Hanwha Ocean. If you take a look at environmental regulations compared with regulations of the past, in the past we have to meet certain values. For example, we have SOx regulations and NOx regulations. We need to go below these regulations. We didn't have any advantage by going below these numbers. If you take a look at conventional CO2 strategy, we had to meet certain CII number. But as we are moving toward net zero by 2050, if you take a look at the IMO and other regulations, instead of meeting the target, we have to go further below the target. By doing so, we can get some benefits. Reducing CO2 should not be just about meeting that regulation. It can be translated into operating costs of vessels. When you do economic assessment of a vessel, we used to be based upon fuel and efficiency and economics, but we have to move away from that. Carbon tax will be a significant factor in our cost analysis of a new shipbuild. We at Hanwha Ocean, together with Hanhwa Group, are working on various carbon-free solutions. If you go to carbon-free, we have reduced burden from carbon taxes. There are also regulations that provide a benefit for using carbon-free fuel in order to respond to those regulatory changes. Hanwha power system, and we are working together on our mobility and carbon-free solutions.
예, 감사합니다.
Thank you. So DSME has transformed into Hanwha Ocean, and it seems that within your business group, Hanwha Business Group, you are creating synergy effects. So I'd like to ask a more detailed question. What about alternative fueled ship development status in your company? So since we joined Hanwha Group, 1.5 years has passed, and the Gastech announced our future plan, and the carbon-free or the zero-carbon roadmap, particularly the LNG carrier in the form of carbon-free or net carbon is in our future roadmap. So green ammonia or blue ammonia or eco-friendly ammonia supply will be a key task ahead of us. And also the charters have kind of concerns over the uncertainty of supply of alternative fuels and the supply stability. So given such fact, we are thinking about how the LNG can be used as a kind of dual fuel in the future ship types. And also we are working on the development of the engines which can have a combined or mixed fuel of the ammonia. So sometime in 2030 or between 2030 and 2035, I believe that if ammonia fuel can have an economic the value compared to other fuels, I believe that ammonia will be used as a major fuel. And also, the ammonia is transported in the form of fertilizer, and still there is a risk regarding using ammonia as an alternative fuels. In order to resolve that concern, we are actually using a containerization method in this electricity-powered engine ships. So in order to secure safety and the fuel efficiency using ammonia, we just came up with this gas turbine vessels using this containerization method.
예, 임 팀장님 감사합니다.
Thank you for your answer. Now, I'd like to ask a question to Mr. Yu from HD KSOE. As I mentioned earlier, Mr. Yu is researching future technology. Mr. Yu, 3 shipbuilders are working on liquefied hydrogen as a next generation fuel. So can you tell us about your progress regarding the development of liquefied hydrogen vessels? Good morning, Mr. Byeong had to be here, but due to circumstances beyond his control, I'm here on his behalf. I'm in charge of the development of liquefied hydrogen. Before that, for 7 years, I worked on LNG technologies such as LNG bunkering and LNG carriers. And this year, I shifted my attention to liquefied hydrogen. Liquefied hydrogen carriers are not here yet. So we need to identify where a demand can be first generated. So we are discussing shipping companies, shippers, and ship owners regarding their thoughts about liquefied hydrogen carriers. Woodside, Shell, and MN Hyundai Globis are our potential customers. So we are listening to what they have to say and assess their needs and wants. And that is reflected in our vessel development. Recently, Woodside, by 2030, plan to supply liquefied hydrogen from Australia to Singapore. Relevant contract was entered into last week. Together with Woodside, we have entered into an MOU to look at their requirements and how much hydrogen will need to be transported. So that is topics we are delving into, and as we are a research organization, and hydrogen is a very challenging technology which is not yet mature. Customers have need for using hydrogen by 2030. So we need to think about how much system we can develop by 2030 and how much we can make progress in terms of developing a commercial model by that time frame. By 2024, hydrogen, diesel, and LNG will be combined in our triple fuel engine we are developing. That triple fuel engine is to be commercialized next week. When liquefied hydrogen is stored in a tank, we need to see whether they will work as well as LNG. So we are building a demonstration project. By next year, we at KSOE will be able to determine whether the pilot will be successful. And a vacuum insulation system and issues we have encountered on shore will be researched. So we'll be addressing these technology problems in order to demonstrate the feasibility of liquefied hydrogen. Hanwha Ocean, our company, and Samsung Heavy Industry are participating in national project where by 2028 we'll be piloting a liquefied hydrogen carrier. So we are collaborating with these two companies. We'll be showcasing how much progress we have made by 2028. That could provide a hint whether these vessels can be commercialized by 2030. So that is the research direction we are currently taking.
So development of liquefied hydrogen and carrier is a big task, and from the perspective of engineer working at an engineering company, ammonia will be a kind of future hydrogen carrier. It's because ammonia is not technically difficult to create compared to hydrogen, and it has better volume efficiency. So it's better the fuel. And the major three companies are working on 150K ammonia carrier development, and the various thoughts are given to utilization of existing LNG carrier and so on. So the development of liquefied hydrogen carrier was a kind of big task, and I would like to know what kind of efforts are being made at each different companies. So ammonia is leading the fuel company, and if ammonia development goes well, it wouldn't threaten the hydrogen market. I believe that once the infrastructure is established with introduction of ammonia, then the hydrogen will be produced in its production site and it will be converted into ammonia. And at the point of usage, it will be reconverted into hydrogen. So I believe that the creation or the production of hydrogen and the liquefaction of this hydrogen and transport it into a kind of safer form and then delivered to the point where it is used. And we need to think about what could be the most economically effective or efficient the solution for the use of hydrogen fuel. And I believe that when the hydrogen market gets bigger, then the hydrogen should be transported in the form of hydrogen rather than the ammonia to have better economic efficiency. So it's time for us to think about the price of hydrogen, particularly based on a specific transportation form of hydrogen. And that's the point that we need to draw our future vision. So ammonia should have a firm footing in the market, and then hydrogen will follow and will be used more widely and more it will lead to a bigger production of hydrogen. And when the time comes, hydrogen will be transported in the form of hydrogen and it will be widely used in the market. And also from the perspective of a company which is building a large-scale vessel, from the perspective of shipping, from the perspective of fuel, besides the hydrogen as a fuel, we need to think about hydrogen as a freight. So large-scale hydrogen cannot be transported or shipped in a kind of coastal liners. So liquefied hydrogen is not a kind of proper or suitable type of freight for coastal shipping lines. So we we need to talk about a kind of use of hydrogen as a direct fuel as for a kind of large scale, long distance sailing vessels.
Next, I'd like to speak with Mr. Park from Wing GD. Because of the greenhouse gas issue, you must be very busy. But that can present a lot of opportunities for engine makers like yourself. As some of you may know, I'm not sure this is the first time, but Exxon in Belgium toward HD Mipo shipyard, they placed order LNG fueled ammonia carrier. When GD is known to supplying to that shipyard. I believe this is the first of its kind in terms of a project. So can you keep us updated on the progress of engine development and any difficulties you have encountered so far? I'm Park Jung-sik from WinGD Korea. Let me briefly talk about WinGD. WinGD is headquartered in Switzerland. It has a history of 126 years as an engine maker. We have engine developers and engine manufacturers. There's a clear division between the two. In Korea, Hyundai Heavy Industry Machinery Division and Hanhwa Engine are manufacturing engines. We provide engine technology to these companies. As mentioned earlier, in October last year, around this time last year, Exxon in Belgium placed an order for 46,000 tons of ammonia LPG carrier. So the contract was entered into that time last year. Fortunately, the HD Hyundai Mipo shipyard and HD Hyundai Heavy Industry Machinery Division are collaborating with us on this project for engine development. It's not that we'll be able to supply our engine upon development. We have had this engine development idea in 2011, and in 2020 we received approval from the class society. And this year, in July, we installed a single-cylinder engine in our lab. The main engine for a vessel is different than automotive engine. One engine is as large as a building. From design to production, it takes a lot of time. We have to run a test on the developed engine. We'll be testing the engine using conventional oil, like fuel oil, and we completed that test from early October. We are making preparations to test run ammonia-fueled engine. By early November, we'll be able to run a test on ammonia-powered engines. And after that is complete, we are now working on one cylinder. And we'll be expanding that to 4 cylinders for a test. And when that is complete, we'll be asking the Hyundai Heavy Industry to go into production. We are shooting for within the second quarter next year to produce the engines which will be shipped to the shipyard. And in terms of the entire vessel, in the first quarter of 2026, the Hyundai Mipo shipyard is set to deliver the vessel to the client. And then we'll have a vessel with first of its kind engine. In terms of such engine development, we have long history of 126 years, so we have been able to catch up with customer needs. But the problem is related to the toxicity of ammonia. We need to think about the safety of the crew. We also need to think about the safety of those on the factory floor. First, we need to test the engine in Switzerland as well. As you know, Switzerland is known for its clean environment, and Swiss is a landlocked country. We don't have any space where we can reduce the risk by working on coastal areas. We have a lab in a city with a population of 100,000. We have to run the test in the middle of the city. So the requirements given by the municipality government are as stringent as those of the IMO. So getting permission to test run the engine has been very challenging. And in terms of technology, we have come up with a lot of ideas which were incorporated into the engine to address technical hurdles. For example, ammonia and LNG and LPG. If there's an issue, we need to dilute that by blowing them out. That has been our conventional go-to strategy. But due to the toxicity of ammonia, we cannot blow ammonia out in a gaseous form because people can breathe in. So we adopted the option of flushing out ammonia with water. So in terms of cost and system complexity, they have increased dramatically, but since safety is our top priority, we adopted that water-based solution. So that is our development progress so far.
Thank you, Dr. Bak. It seems that we have 5 to 6 minutes left. And as a moderator, I try to ask questions to our panelists, particularly the ones that the audience wants to talk about or listen to. So now I'd like to have an interactive session and take some questions from the floor. If you have any questions, please raise your hand so we can move over the microphone to you. On the second row, we have someone who just raised his or her hand. Please identify yourself before you ask a question. I am Iminu. I am from Yuko Carrier. So you just introduced ammonia-fueled vessel and referred the vessel as a kind of next generation vessel, and you just talked about some merits and the strengths of that ammonia-fueled vessels. Could you please be more specific?
저희는 사실은 그 아모니아가 차세대
So ammonia, it's too early for us to say that ammonia will be the next generation engine. The fuel. So once a new type of fuel is introduced in the market, the related engine had been developed. So when it comes to ammonia, if we think about the history of LNG, LNG was introduced as a fuel to the market, and the LNG carrier were developed and built to carry LNG. And if you take a look at the Exima project, the vessels are LNG carriers and ammonia carriers, so they just carry LNG and ammonia. And the KSOE just mentioned that the hydrogen burning engine will come when hydrogen is carried in a large bulk. But the question that you just asked can be interpreted from my perspective that ammonia can be or will be a kind of next generation representative fuel type. But some say that actually predicting the future next generation fuel is like a gambling. So I do not actually 100% agree with that comment, but actually the comment has certain reason. And when it comes to gambling, it's a kind of game of probability. So ammonia is a one probability in the future of our future fuel, and hydrogen is highly likely to be transformed or converted into ammonia for transportation. So it means that if that would be the case in the future, the ammonia will have a higher probability to be a kind of major fuel in the future. And also, actually, it will erase the engine design requirements. So, actual engine design should be enabled, and also there should be a market demands to enable the development of ammonia-based engines. Thank you very much, Managing Director Park.
So we often get a question from the audience regarding which fuel will be mainstream as next generation fuel. Then we have to go a roundabout way to answer those questions. And if I may offer my insight, there are many factors at work. First, the economics of the fuel itself, its availability, and relevant technical issues. If you exclude all those, if you focus on economics, so that is closely related to the pricing of the fuel. We once conducted a feasibility study at a Korean register, and at that time we looked at specific vessels, LNG, methanol, ammonia, as various options. So different vessels had different needs. Smaller vessels, it is better for them to use fuel oil and pay more taxes, but for larger vessels. So the study was conducted in 2023, but for larger vessels, LNG was the best option, followed by ammonia and methanol. Of course, we had a lot of assumptions, fuel prices in particular. So we averaged fuel price assumptions given by various organizations. we looked at LNG, ammonia, and methanol, but the gap between these three was not great. And what was interesting was regarding greenhouse gas. We have greenhouse gas taxes, and over time, these taxes will become more stringent. In 2023, LNG, ammonia, methanol was the order, but around the mid-2030, even though we don't do a calculation, I think ammonia will be the top position, followed by LNG and methanol. What I want to say is, so we don't see a dominant advantage for either of these three fuels. The difference between these three was minimal. We need to look at prices and other factors. So despite such a ranking, ship owners need to think about which fuel is most optimal depending on the type of the vessel. Any other comment from the panelists regarding the question? So the question posed was very important. I'm sorry that our answer has not been very satisfactory, but since our time is up, we'd like to wrap up our panel discussion. I'd like to thank you for your kind attention.